Special day here on campus at Eastern Washington University for National Letter of Intent Day signing show as the Eagles bring a new class to Cheney as we get ready for another football season that is a ways away, but it's a very important day. Hello again, everybody. Dennis Patchin, along with my broadcast partner today, the longtime radio voice of the Eastern Washington Eagles, Larry Weir. And Larry, this is always a day because it's so special for the kids and their parents to complete that goal, but it's also years of hard work for a coaching staff to assemble another class.
Yeah, it's not something that's done overnight. These guys work a long time on signing this class. It's exciting for the young men. It's exciting for the coaches. It's exciting for the current team to have know they have some new players coming into the system as well. As you see some of the coaches, still doing work. You see them over there on phones, on iPads, whatnot.
Yeah, they're not playing cards over there. They're probably recruiting the next group of guys. We're going to hear from all the coaches about all the new players that the Eastern Eagles have signed, including those that were signed in the early signing period and those that were signed today. Aaron Best, the head coach of the Eagles, will be joining us coming up very shortly. We'll sit down with him and talk about this class in general and some other things. It's a very special day. We hope you enjoy it. We're with you for the next hour here. National Letter of Intent Day signing show at Eastern Washington. Aaron Best comes your way next here on SWX. Welcome back to Eastern Washington University as you will meet the new Eagle class, the signees of 2024. Dennis Patchin, Larry Weir, and we're going to introduce you to new players. This man needs no introduction. The longtime head coach of Eastern Washington University, Aaron Best. Thanks for being here, and thanks for allowing us to be with you.
Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Big day.
Yeah, it is. I mean, people think you just kind of show up, put some names on a list, but this is actually years of work to identify players and get them to be Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it's years. The hard work is probably the last 12 months. Where you start is definitely not where you end, but it is a long journey, an arduous journey. The journey mostly ends in December this day and age, and not in February on the first Wednesday. But it is a long. It's a long journey. It's fun. You put a finality on this, and then tomorrow you talk about 25s, and so it's something you get to celebrate, much like games. You get to celebrate for 24 hours, and then you're on to the next one. But it's exciting. Most of us coaches have been there before. We want to make sure that these student athletes' days are as special as ours when we got the opportunity to do this without a camera crew, to do this 40, 50, 60 years ago.
The names, a lot of the ones that we're going to hear today probably are not names that are going to contribute in 2024. You're trying to fill holes on the team. So if you might have all your offensive linemen returning, let's say, but they're seniors, so you need to get some other guys in the pipeline, right?
Yeah, it's always kind of that 2-year thought process. You're not replacing them this year. You're replacing them for when they leave or when they're not ready for the next year. So kind of that 2 years to get ready, get them around and on campus for a year, unless you are a transfer non-high school player. Sometimes that is plug and play. Sometimes those are situations or positions where we think we have an idea in the summer. Sometimes it's the middle of the fall. Sometimes it's after fall when guys say, hey, we're going to hang up the cleats or we're going to head to a different opportunity. So some of those are presented not in a timely fashion, but they're opportunities to go out there and get non-high school players that you expect to be impactful in their first fall. But for the most part, we're going to continue to stay high school developmental, 70 to 75% high school driven. If we can continue to do that 3/4 of our class year in and year out, we're going to be able to develop some guys knowing that we're going to have to plug and play with other guys. Those will come from the non-high school arena.
The landscape has changed a little bit in the last 5 years because of COVID giving everybody an extra year and the transfer portal being way more active than it used to be. You guys have had to adjust on how you do things.
Well, everybody's got to adjust. You adjust in your own way. Some schools have honored the sixth fall, the COVID year. Some have not. Some have done a little bit of both. We have. It's a big senior class for us this year, and a lot of it has to do with the COVID class or the the last air quote class of COVID. It's kind of this year, and then next year really is the last year. But it's an opportunity for those guys to physically mature again and prolong their careers, because as we all know, it's going to end for everybody at some point. Most guys, it's going to end in college. So why not take another season of football, and school, and weightlifting and meetings. But they enjoy it. They enjoy their teammates. But it's a big senior class, so we've got very, very high aspirations for this team this fall in 2024.
And you kind of had to when you're doing this, and especially with a high school class, you have to address just about every position, right?
Oh, for sure. That's, maybe a position is a little bit lighter. Maybe there's only one in the room. But take, for instance, our offensive line. We're going to graduate 5 guys this year, eligibility-wise. So we're going to essentially lose from left tackle to right tackle. So those numbers are going to be a little bit higher in some rooms based on eligibility and graduation. Sometimes it's based on position, just because the offensive line is going to have probably 3 to 5 every year. So some years more, some years less. Some positions are plug and play now. Some of them are high school driven. Let's get them to develop in the next year or two, so they have the best career they can have when they're mentally and physically developed.
Aaron will be back with us at the end of the show, but we're going to hear from position coaches as we go along. Aaron, thanks, and we look forward for you being back on the show. We'll break down this Eastern Washington Eagle team. Up next is Mark Anderson, who's the recruiting coordinator and the tight ends coach, and he'll visit with us coming up next here as we continue with more on the Eastern Washington Eagle National Letter of Intent signing show on SWX. Welcome back to Eastern Washington University as we introduce you to the Eagle class of 2024. Guy wearing 2 hats for today, the recruiting coordinator and the tight ends coach is Mark Anderson. He joins us now. Mark, thank you for being here. As a recruiting coordinator, can you kind of give us a 30 seconds of how this unfolds?
30 seconds seems short, but no, I mean, we start, every January, February, kind of that time frame, and we all are divided up, across the West Coast, and split into areas, and our job as area coaches is to grab a bunch of names and kind of cast a wide net, take those names that can play and pass them on to position coaches, and from there it's a pretty thorough eval process. It's position coaches, it's coordinator, it's head coach approval, see guys move, in person in the spring and in the summer, and try to get them on campus from there.
All right, let's talk about some of these guys that you're bringing in. Let's start with the junior college tight end, Landon Cooper, out of a place where you've been getting some guys here as of late, Butte Junior College.
Yeah, Butte College has been good to us, and, Coach Snelling does a great job down there. And, I think it's a program that's ran similarly to ours. It's a tough program, accountable program, but Landon's going to come in, be 6'3", plus 235 pounds, and be able to contribute, we think in fall of 24 at tight end, and be on special teams and some of those things too. And he's a tough kid. We actually started recruiting him in December of 22, so he won't like that I tell that story, but December of 22, brought him up on campus, and ended up getting him in December of 23. So he's on campus now doing a great job.
All right, you've got 3 more tight ends to talk about, and the next one is a guy that just down the road at Lakeland High School in Rathdrum is Asher Bowie.
Yeah, Asher out of Post Falls. He's he's a kid that he's 6'5", 210 pounds, probably more than that outside of basketball season, but a multi-sport kid. We saw him at camps early on, loved his junior film, wanted to see him in person, and gosh, he loves running this play. He does a great job with this, but came to our team camp and strapped the pads on and showed us how tough he was and how competitive he was, and decided to extend a full scholarship from there. And he's got a super high ceiling, a long, athletic kid at 6'5", 210 that, we can bring him in, put the weight on, and he's going to be a player.
That first highlight was from a university high school game that I was at. He was all
over
the field.
I was there too.
Yeah. He was all over the field.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Let's go to the next guy on the list now. And if you get up into northwestern Washington, you get a Nooksack Valley, Linden Christian. You can get some pretty good players out of there. Caden Stite is one of those guys, another guy with a high ceiling.
Absolutely. Super high ceiling. And, I was over at the Linden Christian Nooksack game the first round, so Stewie was in a better mood after the first game. But, a kid who we maybe thought he was a linebacker, thought he was a tight end early on. Just kind of didn't know what he was. Saw him in camps running routes, and we were like, gosh, this kid's a player. super athletic, goes up and catches the ball, physical, he's long, he's kind of put together already. Then came to our team camp. They come to our team camp for 4 days, and he excelled there. And we kind of couldn't look away at that point. Wanted to get him on board after our team camp.
Fourth and final tight end, Mark, that you got is a young man out of Eastern Washington, out of Kennewick, Gavin Allen from Southridge High School.
Yeah, head coach, former Eastern safety Matt Johnson. But Gavin was a guy that, early on, junior film, okay, let's see what he can do. He's a long kid. He's an athletic kid. He came to our individual camp in the summer, really earned his spot at that point. Strapped the pads on him. So he showed, again, how tough and competitive he was and moved around really well. And he's got a good vibe to him. And, all three of these guys, they walk in the room, you're like, holy cow. Gavin's all is 6'6", 220, and I think, again, he's got a high ceiling. But all three of those young freshmen, I think, have a high potential, and like we talked about, Landon's going to contribute right away in 24.
One of the things you talked about was team camp. You saw him in team camp, individual camp. Is that an important part of your recruiting to get those guys here as high school guys so you can actually see them here?
Yeah, our camps, just being able to coach the guys and work with them. For O-line, D-line, and tight ends, it's going to be padded camps. And, our team camp's in pads, and we get to be with those guys for 4 days. And, it's Linden Christian, it's Nooksack, it's Linden. It's a ton of schools that come up, and Kamaikan over the years. And, it's been a good deal for us that way.
When you get three high school guys in the same position in a year at tight end, they may all end up as tight ends, but is positional flexibility important when you're recruiting these guys in case you need somebody as a defensive end or maybe somebody grows into offensive tackle size, et cetera?
Yeah, I don't think any tight end wants to hear that he might grow into a tackle.
Well, Mike Ruse heard that a few years ago.
Yeah.
We tell him never get to 270, and then Coach Mace will kind of look the other way. But, yeah, I think, that's important. I think one thing that's important with high school tight ends is they got to be tough. They got to be competitive. We got to see them in pads, but also we got to take some length. All three of them are 6'3.5 plus, all the way up to 6'6", and that's tougher to find in the portal. So we got to kind of take that and develop it out of high school.
Mark, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on a very good class here, and you're going to meet plenty more of those coming up.
Thanks, guys.
When we come back, we will visit with the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. That's Jim Chapin. He'll join us. We'll talk a little bit about quarterback and a running back as well. We'll do that when we return here. It's the Eastern Washington Eagle National Letter of Intent Day signing show live from the locker room here in Cheney on SWX. Thanks for joining us this afternoon here on SWX as we introduce you to a new class of Eastern Washington Eagle football players. We appreciate you being here. Dennis Patchin, Larry Weir, the longtime radio voice of the Eagles, and we've been here before, and it's always fun to see kids' dreams come true.
Absolutely, and see the culmination of hard work by these coaches come true as well. Offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Jim Chapin joins us now, and you've got a quarterback in this class that was very highly recruited, Jake Skakel out of Emerald Ridge High School, and he's, I think, pretty much regarded as the number 2 quarterback in the state.
He's a special kid, and what's fun about him is that his dad is actually the head coach of the school. And so Jake came up for years to our team camp as the ball boy, eventually as a starting quarterback. He started 1 million games in his career. He has something like 9,000 career passing yards, 100 career passing touchdowns, and it's been fun for us to watch him grow. And it was really evident in June when they came to camp that he was the guy for us. We're lucky to have him. He was the section player of the year this year, an all-state kid. He does it all, high academic. We're lucky.
What is it about coaches' kids that you like to recruit, and maybe even more importantly, coaches' kids who are quarterbacks?
We want to find kids that are smart and tough, and he's both those things. And so he has the arm, he has the talent, and a lot of kids have those attributes, but we want to find the ones that on 4th and 1 are going to do the job.
Kevin Allen is a running back that you also have signed. You signed one running back in this class. Tell me about him out of San Diego.
Yeah, so Kevin is dynamic. He's a playmaker. He's really special. With the ball in his hands, he makes it go, and he had something like 1,200 yards and 22 touchdowns this year. And you see on the clip there, he's going to run away from everyone. Helix High School down in San Diego has guys like Alex Smith and Reggie Bush, and he's a special kid that goes into the same category as those guys from Helix.
Was he really on the radar for teams coming into this season, or is he kind of a kid that's really elevated himself?
You know, his junior year he was productive, and then over the course of his senior year he was getting recruited by everyone on the West Coast, Mountain West schools, Big Sky schools, and then a few schools kind of dropped off and maybe recruited him in a way that he didn't really appreciate, and we were there and ready, and he tripped with us on his official visit over the fall, him and his mom, and just kind of fell in love with him, and then they fell in love with us.
Saw a punt return in there.
Yeah, he's dynamic. Kick return, catch out of the backfield. I mean, he is a home run hitter from everywhere in the field.
All right, Jim, thanks for the time. We appreciate that. This is the quarterback's coach. That's why he's got the big smile on his face here. When we come back, we'll continue with more. Eric Sanders, who coaches the linebackers as the new defensive coordinator here at Eastern Washington University. We'll visit with Eric about his position and being the defensive coordinator now. Yeah, that's the smile on his face. New job, new title, new questions coming up here as we continue more. Live from Cheney. Welcome back here on SWX, Eastern Washington Eagle National Letter of Intent Day signing show, the new football class for 2024 as we introduce you to those. We're also going to introduce you to the new defensive coordinator, Eric Sanders, here at Eastern Washington. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Yeah.
How being the DC now, how does that change things?
You know, it's just been really exciting to be able to dig in a little bit more, getting to know the other kids at other position groups. So we just had the safeties over to our house for pizza last night, actually. It's been good.
You've had such a breadth of experience from the NFL to college ball. You've had a lot of chances to learn from a lot of different people here, and your first chance, I think, right, to get the defensive coordinator position?
Yeah, I like to make the joke. I've been hired as a DC 3 times. This is the first time I'm going to get to do the job. Excited about that.
Well, good. Congratulations on that.
Thank
then
you.
Let's talk. You've got a couple of linebackers, and one of those guys very close to us here, Coeur d'Alene High School, a young man out of Coeur d'Alene in Shea Robertson, who, if you saw the Vikings play last year, he was all over the field.
Yeah, Shea's an exciting guy. He's a linebacker. Big hitter, leader, loves to make the calls. The thing that I remember when he came to team camp last summer was the sound he made when he hit the other players. So I think that's going to be what gets the fans' attention.
Very instinctual linebacker. Is that how you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing a long time. Actually grew up in Southern California playing youth football, and so just tons of reps under his belt as a linebacker.
All right, you signed one other young man from the west side of the state out of Ferndale High School, and that is Connor Walker.
Yeah, Connor is kind of the inverse of Shea. He's a big, long athlete. Didn't really play a ton of linebacker in high school, played offensive skill position, and he would have 100 yards receiving, 100 yards rushing, and make tackles on defense. When he came to camp this summer, we actually lined him up and had him cover wide receivers, too. And, yeah, they couldn't run away from him. So he's an exciting developmental prospect.
He played some safety in high school, so how hard is it to go from safety to linebacker? Are there similar principles?
Yeah, I mean, there will be some things in terms of what he has to look at that'll be different, but when it comes time to chase him down and get him on the ground, he'll be just fine at that.
6'3", 215, you'd like to be a pass rusher out of there too, wouldn't you?
We'd like him to do everything.
Hey, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on your promotion, and congratulations on getting 2 more linebackers.
Thanks very much.
All right, that is Eric Sanders joining us here. When we come back, we're going to continue with more. Hayden Mace, he doesn't have 1 or 2 guys. He's got a bucket full of guys. He's the offensive line coach, and we're going to talk to Hayden about his new class of guys when we return here live in Cheney on the Eastern Washington Eagle National Letter of Intent Day signing show live on SWX. Still working, still talking, still discussing football. That's what they do here at Eastern Washington University. Welcome back, Dennis Patchin, Larry Weir, the longtime radio voice of the Eagles, and offensive line coach Hayden Mace. Hayden, thanks for being here. We heard from Aaron earlier in the show that you've got 5 seniors on the offensive line this season. So this, I don't want to put words in your mouth, kind of an important class to get a group of guys to replace those 5 guys leaving?
Definitely is. In addition to the guys that we've been developing on roster, a very important class, 2024. Have put a lot of time, effort as a staff from area recruiting to now. Seeing guys in camp all over the West Coast, but imperative because I do think there are some guys in the class that could play a little in their first year.
All right, let's talk about these guys. Let's go because you've got a few guys to talk about here. Let's start with Nick Brown. This is a young man with pretty good length on him. Where do you see him? Is this a tackle, an inside guy, or is that still to be determined?
To be determined. He's a swing candidate for us, meaning we think he's going to play guard and tackle. What I love about Nick is the way he plays the game. He's aggressive, nasty. You can see him getting after the opponents both on the sideline and on the field. That's a blue-collar trait that Coach Best and offensive line coaches here for a long time have looked for, and we're really excited about Nick as a guy that can contribute for a long time here at Eastern.
All right, another young man out of California, David Shin. He is our next candidate. This is a young man who comes out of Mount Sac.
Yeah, David is a bounce back from Utah Tech, went to Mount Sac, or Mount San Jacinto, a really talented interior player that we expect to play right away for us. Again, he's got good length, powerful kid, has come in this first month he's been on campus and impressed in the weight room and the way he's moving on the field. Really excited to see him contribute, and another guy that likes to mix it up a little bit on the field.
How important was it to get a guy at least that had some experience so you didn't have all freshmen in this class?
Yeah, super important to us. We lost one to graduation this last year, and with a bunch of guys moving on, it was good to find a guy that has a couple years still to play for us.
All right, tell us about another Californian in Ethan Lowell.
Yeah, Ethan, great story. Saw him at a couple camps. He's from California, but came up to the West Coast or to the Northwest a couple times, including our camp this summer. Got to work with him. Was really impressed with him. He's going to start out at center for us. Do think he has the length and athleticism to play guard for us too. But after we lose Jack Seeley after this next year, a guy that we expect to get in the mix for potential 3 or 4 years.
And the fourth California offensive lineman is Ahmad Robinson.
Yeah, Ahmad, super raw, very excited about him. Huge kid. It says 6'6" up there on the screen, but I think he might be pushing 6'7" or bigger now. Missed his junior year to injury, so his recruiting happened a little bit later, but very excited about Ahmad. He turned on his tape. You see him blocking guys 30 yards down the field. Good athleticism, good length, good foot turnover. Very excited about the way he plays the game, and absolutely a great piece of clay to mold over the next couple of years.
All right, so 4 Californians. So Eastern has done a nice job in recent years of going north of the border, mining some guys. Nolan Olm is one of the Canadians on this team that's contributed. Here's another young man from Canada, and Mark Johnson.
Yeah, Mark Johnson, interesting story. His name was passed along to us by Greg Peach and CFL great Angus Reed, who's actually his coach and trainer up there in Vernon. But really unique talent. His athleticism, his length, his power, the technique that he plays with already as a high school kid are all very impressive to us. Do think he's got a great frame, great upside with his athleticism to be able to potentially play early.
All right, so the 5 guys that you've seen here are all guys that signed in December, but you've got one more in Alex Hatch.
Yep, Alex Hatch just was on his visit this weekend with his family. He was a kid that came here this summer in camp, got to see him firsthand, tracked him closely over the course of the season and into the last month here. Very excited to have him make the jump from defensive line over to offensive line. Do think there's some real good upside with him, just the power and the way he plays the game.
I'm looking at all these guys' numbers, height, weight. 6'5", 6'6", 260, 270, 255. You can bring some large individuals in here.
Yeah, in our offense, what Coach Chapin, Coach Best ask us to do up front, we're not a 6'4", 330-pound offensive line unit. We're asked to run the football, drop back pass, get out on screens. We have to have a complete skill set. So we look for a very unique blend of tools in high school kids.
And still to be determined on some of these kids, as you mentioned earlier. Some will end up being a center, some will end up being guards, and you'll have a tackle or two out of this. You just got to figure it out once they get here.
Absolutely. Love the high school class that we're bringing in. Really excited about David Shin and excited for the future.
All right, when we come back, we've got more Eagles to introduce you to. More class and more players coming up. When we come back, Zach Bruce will join us, a guy who played for the Eastern Washington Eagles and now recruiting new Eagles. We'll introduce you to some of those players from the defensive backfield when Zach joins us here when we continue live in Cheney. Welcome back to Cheney. We are live in the locker room at Eastern Washington University, introducing to you a new class. He's Larry Weir. I'm Dennis Patchin, and Zach Bruce joins us.
The safeties coach at Eastern. Zach, you lost a couple of guys in graduation, so you needed to go get you a transfer that could come in right away and play, and you got Mikel Broussard out of UTEP.
Yeah, Mikel's going to come in right away. He's already on campus, and, he's done a great job already of just being an old guy, being a vet, putting his arm around some younger guys. And I'm just telling you, this kid's going to make an immediate impact for us. He can do a lot of things. He's a physical football player, and he runs and tackles really well. So we're excited to have Mikel.
He's an old guy? What is he, 21?
No.
20?
we were talking about this the other night. He's in the 2000s decade, so he's the last guy in my room that's not in the same, he's not a 1900s kid anymore. He's a 2000s kid, so he made me feel old the other day.
All right, you got another one in Josiah Good out of the west side from Federal Way.
Yeah, Josiah's another camp product. This is the exact story about what Eastern recruiting is about. We identified him as a long athlete. He played corner in high school, went back and forth, played a little bit of safety, questioned some of his physicality. So he came to team camp, he put the pads on, and he started to hit some people. And so what you're going to see on tape is just a really long, smooth athlete. He's going to have an opportunity to win state in the hurdles this year. He was a top 5 kid in the state last year, so we're excited about him. He's going to be a 6'2" kid. He's got to grow a little bit and grow into his frame, but he's going to be a really, really good player for us and brings a lot of versatility to the DB room.
A young man like that's a track athlete as well as football, how important is it to be multi-sport?
Yeah, it's super important. I'm not as caught up in times and things like that, but I want to see guys go and compete at different things. And so whether it's track or basketball or baseball or lacrosse is becoming a thing, I want competitors. And so and I want them doing it at different things. And there is some things in track that certainly cross over to football, and that's a benefit as well.
Tice Donovan is the third member of this safety class. He's out of White River High School.
Yeah, the new pride of Buckley, Washington. So Coach Anderson's going to have to pass that torch to Tice Donovan. So Tice is an extremely versatile player as well. He's a 3-sport athlete. He's playing basketball right now. They've only lost 2 games, so they got a shot to go make a run at state. You're going to watch this kid fly around. He hits people. He's big, strong, fast, physical. He's going to probably be a sub-1100 runner, so he brings that to the table too. So in terms of just a multi-sport athlete and a good football player, like this guy is it.
Well, let's finish this highlight here because if you put an arrow, that's why we wanted to finish it.
Yeah.
You put an arrow on a guy, we want to finish that highlight. Zach, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate being here.
All right, we're going to continue with more when we come back. Matt Ulrich, the defensive line coach, will join us. We'll talk about some big guys up front on the other side of the football when we come back here, live in Cheney. It's Eastern Washington University's National Letter of Intent Day signing show. Welcome back to Cheney as we introduce you to the new football class at Eastern Washington University, the class of 2024. Most of these players you're going to meet today signed in the month of December. We did add 6 more players today, and Matt Ulrich, the defensive line coach, got 2 of those guys today. Welcome.
Yep, we brought in 2 today, so we're excited about both those guys.
All these guys are defensive ends. Was that by design?
3 of them are defensive ends. We're going to transition one of them inside, John Stremler. But, yeah, we're pretty young in the defensive end room, so we're looking to load that side up.
All right, let's get into these guys and talk a little bit about it. That's Caleb Manson, the first one, the transfer from Nevada.
Yeah, so we graduated a lot of snaps with DeMarcus Johnson last year, so we wanted to bring in a guy with a little bit of college experience, and he's got 2 years of going against some bigger FBS bodies in practice, so we're excited to bring in his experience and his athleticism and bring some length to the room, so really excited about Caleb.
All right, so then 3 high school guys coming into the program. Let's talk about Clayton McCarroll, a young man out of Las Vegas.
Yeah, we recruited Clayton for almost a year. He's from Las Vegas, went to the state championship this year with a really good program, came up for camp. He brings some length and athleticism to the class. He's got the go fast, so he's going to be the guy that's going to be able to put some stress on offensive tackles in the Big Sky. Was highly coachable, high academic kid, so we're really excited about bringing him in.
I like that. He's got the go fast. I don't think I've ever heard that term. I mean, you got to have those guys on the line, don't you?
You got to have guys that are going to stress out offensive tackles, guys that are going to be able to bring some speed off the edge.
The next young man that you signed is a young man that you guys have signed today, and that is a guy whose dad played here, Dario Romero, his son, Waylon Romero, out of University High School.
Yeah, so Waylon's been around Eastern Washington football all his life, and he's pretty familiar with a lot of the guys that we have in our defense line room. He's already got a good relationship with them. He's come up multiple years for camp, and he's a football guy. He's all about ball. He's super competitive. He's a tough kid. He checks all the boxes for what we look for as an EKG.
And then finally, the guy that you say is going to move inside, and that's John Stremler.
Yeah, so John has kind of played all over the place. He played offensive line this year. He played linebacker because that's where his team needed him. He's been a defensive lineman most of his career, but has come up to our team camp multiple years with Nooksack Valley, and he jumped in with the D-line drills this year. Was super coachable. He's going to be your hard hat, lunch pail kind of guy, and he's going to fit in well with the group as well.
Matt, congratulations on a good class, and we'll look forward to these guys' development on the field.
I appreciate it.
All right, that is Matt Ulrich, the defensive line coach. When we come back, Jeff McDaniels is the wide receiver coach, and we've got a bunch of new pass catchers to introduce you to. We'll do that next here on SWX. Welcome back to SWX, Eastern Washington Eagle National Letter of Intent Day signing show. With Larry Weir, I'm Dennis Patchin. Thanks for being with us. We now have Jeff McDaniels, the wide receiver coach, who's got a basketball team and then an extra guy to talk about here.
Yeah, no, it's a good group. There was a premium put on kind of a productivity and trying to get dynamic athletes in here and guys of high character. That was going to be the biggest thing for us, is we wanted to make sure that the legacy of this room has been really special, and so we want to bring in the right guys into this room.
All right, let's talk about the first athlete that you guys have signed in Noah Cronquist.
Yeah, so a guy that's an older guy, 22 years old. He's done a mission. He and his wife got here in January, over 1,000 yards receiving, over 1,000 yards in the return game this past year. Somebody that brings in kind of that Efton Chisholm productivity whenever he touches the ball. So he's dynamic in the return game, and basically every time that he touches it, good things happen for him. It's a touchdown highlight reel for a long time, and somebody that brings in instant maturity. So it's a good balance with some of the youth that we brought in this room, having a 22-year-old that can walk in and is a grown-up, no babysitting needed for him.
Gives you a guy that can come in and really create competition away.
Yes, sir.
That's an awful high comparison in F.
The kind of player. Yeah, to put anybody with F is a little tough. Yeah.
All right, let's take a little wide receiver of a guy that can take the top off the defense here.
Yeah, so a guy that junior college guy and actually ran track at the junior college level, so he's only played football for 3 years. He was a basketball and track kid growing up, was born in Australia, so little uniqueness there, but somebody that should help us stretch the field. We want to make things easy for Coach Chapin and Coach Mace's room and not have to have 10, 11 play drives, and so hopefully we'll have a lot of one-play drives with Jalen and his future on the red.
Third receiver out of this group of 6 is Jackson Branch from Chandler, Arizona.
Yeah, so he played with Kentrell, so it's the second Chandler kid in our program, one of the best programs in America, and You see he's probably going to be our tallest receiver when things are all said and done in the room. A big, long, athletic kid that's used to playing in really, really high-powered offenses and with good quarterbacks. Was the first kid that signed in the class in November, and so extremely excited about his upside and some of the length and versatility that he brings playing both inside and outside.
Next, we've got Aiden Gutierrez. He's another high school kid, and he's another guy that can take the top off. Well, we're seeing Bodie Gardner here, so let's talk about Bodie. This is another legacy kid.
Yeah, so Bodie, so I had the chance to watch him play in a basketball game a couple weeks ago, and he kind of told Coach Bruce and I, show up early because we're going to put on a little dunk contest pregame, and it was impressive. It was one of the most impressive basketball performances that I have seen against North Central down there in Spokane. But yeah, Dad played here. Bodie's a big-time track, big 400 guy. He'll probably finish his high school career as a 10-8, 10-900 guy, but really versatile, big, thick receiver that's going to be able to help us in the return game, on special teams, and is a great fit in the culture, not just in the program, but in the room as well.
Dramatic when he touched the football
Yeah.
on the Greater Spokane League this season. All right, Aiden Gutierrez is the next guy, another young man out of California.
Yeah, so out of the Los Angeles area, and he is a guy that every time he touches the ball, good things are happening. So this is somebody that we hope can, again, speed up some of these drives. Don't have Coach Mace have to go block guys for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plays. And it is just different ways of getting him the football. We're going to be able to move him around offensively, play him inside, play him outside, help Michael Wortham and some of these returners. But he is a take the top off the defense and give our quarterback somebody to really try to stretch the field and put a lot of pressure on defensive backs as well.
And then finally, we have Aiden Nicholson to talk about. This is a young man out of Vancouver that had some high major offers, had a knee injury, and is rounding back into form this year and had a good year.
Yeah, he plays all over the place. Coach Anderson and I, when we watched him early on, he played some linebacker, safety. They'll line him up at tight end. He is a big, thick kid. He's already 18 years old, so a little bit older than some of the other high school kids in the class. But yeah, was a super highly productive guy throughout his time at Mountain View, and just another guy that is a big body frame. So we're trying to bring in a balance of small, shifty guys and then some bigger guys like Aiden in the class.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. We talked to Coach Mace, and it's like there's a body type here. We need that. Mm-hmm. You guys, it's all different kinds of body types, speed, size, strength, that kind of thing.
Try to build it like a basketball room. So you can't have 5 point guards, can't have 5 centers. So we want to be able to have some guys in that bring different skill sets to the table and can give Coach Chapin some cool ideas in the pass game and make life easy for the quarterbacks.
All right. We appreciate the time.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for the information on all of these guys.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people excited about this Eagle pass-catching group. When we come back, we will visit with Wes Nurse, the cornerbacks coach here. We'll talk about his athlete that they have signed, and we'll continue with more here. National Letter of Intent Day Signing Show, live from Eastern Washington University here on SWX. Welcome back to Eastern Washington University. We've got one more Eagle to introduce you to.
We have cornerbacks coach Wes Nurse here. He loses Marlon Jones Jr., an All-Big Sky Conference player from last year. This young man may not replace him, but he's going to be very good in his own right down the road. And it's the only corner that you have to talk about today. It's Ambrose Marsh.
Yes, Ambrose comes here from Renton, Washington, but he went to Eastside Catholic, one of the powerhouses in the state. Did a nice job this year. A guy that has a great versatility in his football game in the sense of not only did he play corner, not only did he play safety, but he's also their punt return this year as well with 3 returns for touchdowns as well. So he did a nice job for Eastside Catholic this year. He was one of, I think, 4 guys that got all league as far as being the defensive backfield. And he's a guy that brings a lot of extra to us. He's a body as well who's also 17, doesn't turn 18 until August. So a lot of room to grow there. And we're looking for big things from Ambrose.
Well, he's got some, his older brother played at Gonzaga Prep at Washington State University and had a cup of coffee in the NFL with Tennessee. So, I mean, the younger brother here. I always know about younger brothers. Younger brothers are tougher than older brothers because they got beat on by their older brothers.
Oh, definitely. That's one of those things of even this past summer, he went down there with his brother, trained with him. So his brother kind of beat him up for about 3 weeks. So it was pretty cool to see that. He sent me some video and stuff. It's like, hey, Coach, look what I'm doing with my brother and stuff like that. So it was really nice to see him do that down there with him.
That family background and the dynamic and the bloodline, that plays into recruiting, doesn't it?
It does. It's just one of those things like, hey, excellence breeds excellence. It's one of those things his brothers, they would pass down some things to him and really show him the ropes of what to do. And I think it's passed along some great things on the Aaron Bosa where he's going to be an exceptional player for us.
Wes, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on your new corner, and we appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
Wes Nurse, the cornerbacks coach. When we come back, Aaron Best will rejoin us. We'll talk to the Eagle head coach, a little bit more about this class, a little bit more about Eastern Washington football when we return here live from Cheney on SWX. Welcome back to the Locker Room in Cheney, the Eastern Washington Eagle National and Letter of Intent signing show. You have met the class of 2024. Head coach Aaron Best rejoining me and Larry Weir, and congratulations as always. It's always a big day because of all the work to get done. Do you like this group of guys?
Love this group of guys. Love the group of guys that recruited this group of guys. Like we talked about, it takes a year to get here, sometimes more. It takes a lot of relationship building to get to this point. There's really 2 big days of the year, one in December and then one in February. Just the bigger day usually kind of moves forward because everybody wants to get it done, right. Because that allows student athletes not to hear from everybody for the next month and a half. So knowing where they're going to go, putting that to bed, and then moving on with winter sports and academics. But huge class, great class. And again, the age-old question is how do you think they're going to be? Well, we'll know in 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. A lot of variables in college, but Mark and the assistants did a great job getting these guys in. I think it was a total of 33 total when it's all said and done, high school and non-high school. And we'll have a few more trickle in the next couple months, but we need to meet some needs on defense a little bit, but we're not in any hurry now. We'll kind of play it out here in the next couple months, but very excited about this group. Now we can turn our focus on the guys on campus and start our winter conditioning. We've already done our winter lifting, but our winter conditioning in the next month and a half.
All right, so you guys aren't putting your feet up and eating bonbons here. You've got still things to do here, right? You've got the winter conditioning, you've got spring ball coming up, and recruiting never ends.
The bonbons, that dates you a little bit, Larry. That commercial was 25 years ago. I remember that.
Look at my beard. That dates me too. So.
Okay. No, we the question from most that aren't in the inner workings of college athletics. Hey, so what are you going to do now that recruiting's done, or what are you going to do now that the season's done, or what are you going to do now that spring break hits? It's like, well, no, that's the student athletes schedule. That's not the student athletes coaches schedule. So these guys can reacquaint themselves with their kids at home, their wives, because we're away a lot of the time. This takes a lot of commitment. College coaching takes a lot of commitment. 110 kids and only 10 full-time coaches outside the head coach. I mean, we're committed to this process, and as well as I know, do at this level and at this place, it takes all hands on deck for doing it a better part of 6 or 7 months now. We will kind of turn our focus to our families at home, to our guys on campus, and then get prepared for spring football. Fill out this staff. We got a couple openings on staff that we'll fill out here in the next couple weeks, and get excited for the start of spring ball, which will be in March this year, first ever, I think ever. We're going to two in March, and then pick it up back up in April after spring break. So that'll be new and exciting. That's news to you, huh, Larry?
Yes, it is.
One of the things you half joked about tomorrow we start on 2025.
No, I fully joked about that.
Okay,
that's not a half joke.
But at what point? When does the contact area? When can you now the next big step to start on the next class?
I guess it's a small step before a big step. Now we're putting our 25 findings from January, which we were out in January, putting those kind of in motion, watching film, and then really as we start getting into spring ball, having some of those guys, prospective student athletes out for unofficial visits, and then really getting out in May. That's the next time we're out on high school campuses and able to go. So says the recruiting calendar in May, and then really it's the camp circuit. I mean, I heard camp a ton. And I bet you 2/3 to 3/4 of these kids came to camp. So after identifying them, after talking to them and evaluating them, seeing in high schools, and then getting them to camp, that's kind of not the last step, but the last big step before they say, okay, I'm going to embark on this recruiting journey with Eastern as they head into their senior year.
How important is January and February before spring ball starts and getting guys conditioned and getting them ready for that spring ball coming up?
Well, I think the off season is the most important part of the season. That's going to make or break your in season. Those one-score games last fall are kind of met during January through July to kind of see who you are, not necessarily as a football team, but as a football teammate, as a person, not necessarily as a player. Those will all come out in the wash in the fall. Very important, very important. That's kind of your foundation for the 2024 season. It's not when August starts. It's not when we play on August 29th, our first game. It's when we get kind of after that January phase. We've been in the weight room for a month. We're a quarter school, so now we're doing the winter ball and the coaching and the lifting with our kids here. Now we can turn our focus back on our kids on campus, but very, very important the next couple months.
Aaron, we appreciate the time. Congratulations to you and all your coaches. If you want more information on any of these players, including video clips, you can go to Eastern Washington University website at goeags.com. We always appreciate the time from the Eastern coaches, and we appreciate you being here with us. Thank you, Aaron. For Larry Weir, I'm Dennis Patchin. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and we're certainly looking forward to Eastern Washington Eagle football coming up this fall live here on SWX.